My big fat rolls are killing me, and I must confess, I'm so freaking fat. So freaking fat. When I'm not eating, I lose my mind. Give me some fries. Chicken tenders 30 more times. Hey guys, welcome to the Gang Stalking Playbook. My name is Efren Rodriguez, and in this channel, we explain the truth about gang stalking, dispel the myths, and most importantly, help targets restore their perceptions back to normalcy. In this channel, we have currently helped a lot of people to understand gang stalking, and our mission is to successfully make the topic of gang stalking mainstream to the point where we simply know what gang stalking is and how it's done. That's the primary goal of the channel, where absolutely everyone in the entire planet knows what gang stalking is. And to do that, we simply have to talk about gang stalking in as many single way, shapes, and forms as possible. And we simply just have to discuss the topic of gang stalking relentlessly until everyone knows what gang stalking is. That's what we have to do. So we're gonna start with today. We're gonna be watching Dr. Ramani's content, and here we actually go. Just give me one second. Why is this not playing? No, it's not playing. Properties, hang on. Oh, just audio. So right now, hang on. Video capture, Mac OS, iPhone, what is this? There's something going on with my sound. Hang on. Ugh. Output. Snap sensitivity. Preview. Port studio mode. Oh, hang on. Something here got restarted, and I'm not sure what it was. Hang on. So I'm gonna put the starting soon. Actually, no. Let me see. Is this playing?
Through narcissistic
Oh, here we go.
relationships.
Yay! Okay, fixed it. Okay, we're gonna get started.
When you have been through narcissistic relationships, conflict, differences can feel catastrophic. The implicit message when you've been through these relationships is that if there's a fight or an argument, then all hell will break loose. And you also learn that if you stand your ground in a conflict, and you expect reciprocal accountability, then you will either A, face even more rage, B, be gaslighted and told that you are demanding, C, face the silent treatment or withdrawal, or D, all of the above. And sadly, D is usually the right answer. Tension is a constant presence in a narcissistic relationship. There is that sense that the narcissistic person can blow or get up and leave at any time.
I have seen that firsthand. I have actually I have experienced it where um, I remember that I was hanging out with a couple, and one of them was narcissistic, and he just got upset. I don't remember at what, but he began just being making a big scandal for no apparent reason, which was the craziest thing ever. And the boyfriend, I remember that he was just like, he was almost pulling his own hair out because he didn't know how to react to what was happening to him. So Bree's saying, "Oh, hey Bree, how's it going? I was listening yesterday. Good topic. Love you too. Hey, yes, gang stalkers are harassing you because they're intimidated by your intelligence, Mandy. Hey, well, I hope that's true, but they couldn't beat me, and there was so many of them, so that must say something, right?" And let's keep going, guys. So yeah, I have been in several relationships with narcissists, and they have mostly been. I have felt like I'm on eggshells every time, and now the thing is that you don't know what walking on eggshells feels like until you are in that situation. But it's almost like you're scared that someone might blow up, and that's so annoying as hell. It's like, ugh, why are you even like that? Bree is saying my ex is watching me 24/7. I actually got a picture. So I have my ex blocked. I have my ex blocked in all my social media. And I got a WhatsApp message from him to my phone with a picture of me that I posted on Facebook. So it's like, why are you helicoptering everything that I do? Like, this person is obviously looking absolutely at everything that I do, which is kind of crazy in itself. His name is Joseph. But it's like, why are you being so weird? And sending me why are you showing me that you're watching everything that I do? Don't be a freaking weirdo. And I told him, you know what? Don't talk to me ever again. You're freaking weird. But yeah, I'm so sorry that that's happening to you. It's so annoying.
Hypersensitivity, the suspiciousness, the provocability, the constant monitoring of threat. It always feels, like I said, these relationships and the narcissistic person can blow. This is
awful.
The origin of the walking on eggshells, hypervigilance dynamic of every narcissistic relationship. In essence,
I feel like that is exactly what it is with gang stalking, that you don't know what's happening. Like, what I remember that when I was getting targeted, I was second guessing everything that I would do. I was second guessing my every move. I began even second guessing everything. My whether I cut my nails, fix my hair, how I would move, even how I would wash myself. I would second guess that because of gang stalking. It was the craziest thing ever. I became a germaphobe. I don't like my stalkers. I want new ones with new agenda. Mine are boring. I've said the same thing so many times. But yeah, it's funny, right? It's like, oh, you're so boring. Stalk me in a new way.
Breath for the period of most of these relationships and wonder why our bodies are falling apart.
For real.
Every child that grows up with a narcissistic parent endures this.
Hey, Chuck.
Wanting to avoid pissing off or setting off the parent. And the message when you grow up in a narcissistic household is that conflict is to be avoided at all costs. And this is no different in an adult narcissistic relationship, where conflict is always wound up, coiled up, ready and waiting to happen. In fact, the collapse and the deflation of survivors in these relationships can often mean that the conflict slows down because you are either too exhausted or too demoralized.
That's what happens with gang stalking, where I was literally too tired of being harassed by a bunch of people that I never became complacent, but I just shut myself back. But yeah, like when I was targeted, I literally I got tired of being angry all the time. I was just exhausted of being angry, you know. What about me, Efren? That's so cute.
To take on the fight.
And Chap 2, he rocks.
Listen, not all conflict is bad conflict. Conflict is a part, an integral part of human relationships.
Absolutely.
We are not always going to agree. In a healthy relationship with two healthy or even two healthy adjacent people, there may be some heated words, but then there can be accountability, meaningful apologies, a willingness to reflect on what unfolded, and then a commitment to getting it right, to tightening up communication. It's not punitive and silent treatment-y and grudge holding for a long time.
But that's exactly what you get when you are getting targeted. Like when you're getting targeted, you don't even have time. Like you begin ruminating, and what now that you're at a rumination point, something else comes at you, and your mind and your emotions cannot get a break because you're continuously thrown a lot of things. Like people are continuously throwing at you something to be mad about. Like Chop is saying, I'm responding a little differently this time around, and I am much more disciplined and limited. Access to me is very narrow and largely cut off. Yeah, so you kind of have to start respecting your own privacy. Like when you are getting targeted, something happens, and then you're mad about it. Like someone calls you like a WHOR, like when you are out and about, and then next thing you know is that someone else is calling you something else. Someone else is messing with your car. Someone else didn't give you your order right. And the thing is that when you're getting targeted, it is a lot of these conveniences, one after the other, after the other, after the other. And it's like you are cursed. Like a lot of things start happening to you that are typically do not happen. And what that does is that you simply are mad and mad and mad and mad and mad continuously and all the time. And it just adds up because you cannot cool off of one thing because you already have a bunch of things already piled up.
All of us have attachment wounds. And if you don't have any, you probably aren't watching this channel. And in conflict, those wounds can get activated. The anxiously attached folks out there, you can get quite triggered and fearful during conflict, afraid of abandonment, and may hold on tight and really want to get to resolution quicker than the other person. All of us avoidant folks, you may have a bit of the FU approach and pull up for a minute, go a little silent. But, and this is the but, you can snap out of it. And after the initial nervous system responses pass, can have a repairing conversation and process because you value the relationship. You can be accountable and even be vulnerable. Our attachment wounds don't damn us in conflict. Narcissism, however, does.
3 shocking reasons why.
For a narcissistic person, there are not two sides. There is their side, and then there is the wrong side. That's
For
you.
real.
The combination, not just of the attachment stuff, but then the self-righteous indignation, the grandiose and self-protective defenses,
for real.
the lack of self-awareness, the how dare you exert yourself as a separate human being, the
For real.
entitlement, the incapacity to have empathy for another point of view that they don't agree with, means that conflict is not only deeply unhealthy, but that there is often no clear way of repairing and restoring after the conflicts. Listen, narcissistic people can issue pseudo apologies. Remember the good old, I am sorry you feel that way. And they can even pretend to extend olive branches, which you have to accept on their schedule. If they're handing you the olive branch, you have no choice. You got to take it, or you're the one who's holding a grudge. Narcissistic people can also throw a rageful, explosive tantrum during an argument or say relatively unforgivable things about.
A lot of times, like that's actually one of the things that really showed me who people are, but I never really know how to see. Like I remember that when I have been in relationships with narcissists, I remember that I was mistreated. I was mistreated, and then I was accused of things that I never did, and I simply didn't really, and I never got an apology for that. You know, even when like I remember that one ex accused me of having sex with someone because there was like the corner of a condom package, but it wasn't even the corner of a condom package. It was the corner of like a package of like chips or something, and this person did like a big old drama and never ever apologized. You know, this person like was like boiled out hard, and and I never even got an apology. You know, which is it's the craziest thing. And the fact that I didn't demand one is exactly what really allowed me to see that I didn't have enough respect for myself to demand that's for someone to treat me like I deserved. You know, so if you just happen to be with someone that is always a one-upper, or that is always trying to that has always gone up on you in a way that is not fair, you have to stay away from that person. You know, regardless if you're with that person for the money or not. Like you always have to make sure that you respect yourself first and foremost, because you're gonna end up suffer a lot more if you deal with a person like that.
At you, and the next day almost act like it didn't happen, or that
It's
you are
awful.
making a big deal by bringing it up and you're the one with the problem because you can't let it go. So the repairs aren't really repairs. They are the equivalent of putting duct tape on a broken window. The window is still broken.
For real.
This
That's a
lack
good analogy.
of repair is why the narcissistic relationship gets less and less healthy over time. Again, there can be fake repair, ignoring what happened, you taking the blame,
Oh,
them giving you a BS apology, you never bringing anything up, ignoring the ongoing, ever-growing elephant in the room. But that isn't really repair. That's just pretending that everything is fine.
yeah.
So over time, the relationship feels less and less safe, more and more hollow, less and less real, and you feel more and more disconnected.
So Chap in the chat is saying, I'm responding a little differently this time around, and I am much more disciplined and limited. Access to me is very narrow and largely cut off. That's really good. So the discipline is a big part of staying free from gang stalking, because it is your lack of discipline that will dig you deeper into your own demise. Because what gang stalking does is that it tries to make your own decisions act against you. So if you're disciplined with all your actions, with whatever it is that you do, and you always take decisions that will benefit you, that is how exactly what is going to destroy gang stalking. If you make no decisions that will harm you in the long run, make decisions always that benefit you. You have to make sure that everything that you do is working on your favor.
It dies a slow death because it cannot be repaired. You can't just duct tape everything. Over time, it will fall apart.
My husband begged me to stop doing this pink salt trick after I lost 25 pounds.
Okay, let's go.
Being in narcissistic relationships can give us a distorted sense of what conflict and repair mean. Conflict can feel like an irreparable end. It can feel like terror. It can feel like an
real.
overwhelming sense of, what did I do wrong? Old attachment wounds can get pinged on the daily in a narcissistic relationship
Annoying
because
AF.
of that fear of conflict. And sadly, it can bleed into other relationships, including those that can be repaired. Not all relationships are unrepairable. In fact, conflict can be the point at which a relationship blossoms and grows and expands and levels up. It's where trust can build, not just in the other person, but in ourselves. But the fear of conflict that grows out of narcissistic relationships means that if you are a survivor, you may feel that you aren't good at conflict. The greatest risk for folks who are survivors of narcissistic relationships, especially childhood relationships, is the tendency to quickly take the blame to keep the relationship going.
To be honest, one thing that I have realized is that whenever anyone, look, when you're gang stalked, you meet a lot of people with narcissistic personality disorder. You simply meet a lot of people with NPD or with psychopathy, or with people that actually laugh at your demise, and you see it. When you're targeted, you start believing what you see. And that's the one thing, you stop believing what is in front of you. And that is the one thing that I changed. And since I changed that, everything around me has followed. For example, when I was getting targeted, if someone was telling me, oh, hey, let's go take a nap. And then whenever I would try to sleep, the person would purposely keep me awake. Only then I would be like, you're acting weird. Don't talk to me. Immediately after someone is showing me with their actions that they are actively, purposefully being mean to me, only then I will be like, don't talk to me ever again. But that's immediately how I go. That's the first thing that I don't give second chances. Someone is doing something mean, that it looks mean, and you can tell because of their expression that they are purposefully doing it. That is my sign to get rid of that person. I immediately tell them, you know what? Don't you ever in your entire life speak to me again. Don't. Because the moment I began doing that and I began blocking people, my entire life changed. By getting rid of people that are doing things that are harming me in any way, shape, or form. If you are a targeted individual, that's what you have to do. You have to get rid of anyone that shows you that they are trying to hurt you with their actions. Because these people are always going to try to lie to you via their words. But their actions is what tells the truth. The results of the action of the people is what tells you how they feel about you. So if there's someone who is a narcissist destroys people. That's it. Narcissists destroy people. And if you don't want to be one of them, you have to tell narcissists to not speak to you. And you have to just simply get out of them. Get out of their way and make sure that they don't talk to you again. That's how you get rid of those people. You have to make sure to never ever speak to them again, because they're going to come out and they're going to hoover you and they're going to be obsessed with you in the worst way possible. And that can potentially lead to gang stalking, which is the craziest thing. So, hey Goddess Retrieval, thank you for being here. So Chap is saying, I feel disgust at the very core of my being when I think about what they have done and do. When they try to change my thoughts, and my primary focus is that feeling of disgust. Yeah, gang stalkers are disgusting people because they are willing to do really weird things and nasty things to F you up, which is insane to me. Chap says, good for you, no more second chances. Second, when people keep testing others' boundaries. Exactly, yeah.
Narcissistic
It's not your job to fix a narcissist. When you find out that someone is a narcissist or a psychopath, you get rid of them. You don't have to fix them. If they cannot fix themselves, if they do not love themselves enough to want to fix themselves, you shouldn't be trying to do that either, because chances are is that they are not going to want to change.
Relationships program us to. By taking the blame, we can go back to the trauma-bonded structure, and the narcissistic person is willing to have us take the blame. So our
I know.
go-to in conflict is to take the blame, to accept their inane apology,
It's
if there
so
even
annoying.
is one,
Ugh.
to avoid any topics that could bring conflict up, to never expect, ask for accountability, to, again, to never even think accountability is possible, and to shrink ourselves.
The worst thing about not expecting accountability from other people is that when you don't know what an accountable person looks like, because you like, I have never seen like a proper working relationship. I never have. So I allowed like my exes to like step all over me. It was not pretty, but I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, that's actually what happened. And like don't be late, and they're late every time, all the time. And I didn't know how to enforce that. That in itself is a sign of lack of respect for you. And that should have been done with a lot of people. Like a lot of them, I would have known to not speak to them within the first 2 minutes, because of what I know now. However, the fact that I didn't understand what was going on is what put me at risk of these people. Accountability is when you agree to something with a person, is that you follow through with it. Regardless of what it is, it could be being late, it can be paying you a debt, something, whatever it is. You have to make sure that they do their part of the accountability part. If you're accountable, you expect the same. And that's the thing, is that do not accept anything than what you deserve. If you have someone tells you, I'll be there to pick you up at 8, you want to make sure that the person is there to pick you up at 8. One, twice, it might happen. 5 minutes late, fine. 20 minutes late. The first time, not acceptable. Bye. Like that. You should be incredibly strict, and your standards for yourself, you should apply them to other people. You should have really, really high standards, and you should never deal with anyone's problems. If someone is manipulative, you don't have to deal with that.
To make it work. As a survivor of one of these relationships, conflict can be very unsettling, but we have to learn how to do it, or as people call it now, having difficult conversations. In many ways, having these so-called difficult conversations or conflict is the equivalent of going into the proverbial tiger's cage. You can learn a lot about how a person is built by watching how they take on conflict. Are you ultimately able to get to a place that is balanced and you feel heard? And in some conflicts, it may not come to a perfect ending. But frankly, if you feel safe, connected, heard, and seen after a conflict,
every day deserves a moment of pause.
How do you guys feel after a conflict typically?
that's a big part of repair. What is not repair is you forever taking the blame.
The type of conflict that I'm used to is to have a person do something really messed up, and then when I tell them, you did this and this, and then they're like, you're crazy. I'm so used to having people call me that I'm crazy just to try to make something, by only trying to make them accountable. It's crazy. It's crazy. And it's like, I'm one of the most sanest person that you're going to possibly ever meet.
The other person forever holding a grudge. The ongoing rhetoric that you are somehow the difficult one for wanting to work through conflicts.
For real.
Narcissistic people would rather just fight the fight or give you the silent treatment in the way they want. But they don't want, nor do I think are they able, to have a balanced, difficult conversation. They just want to throw a tantrum, have you feel bad, and then behave as though you are the problem.
For real.
Listen, none of us are perfect during an argument. Our human tendency is to defend ourselves or to shut down. And this can be even more significant if we have histories of relational trauma, narcissistic family systems, or other forms of abuse. But if we are not antagonistic or narcissistic, we can do the vulnerable work of accountability and level up our relationships. It may take a minute, But in our relationships, if we let it breathe and watch how it unfolds,
So the chat is saying, I suffer from complex PTSD from narcissistic abuse and gang stalking, and I handle conflict usually by having a panic attack. So what do you mean you resolve conflict by having a panic attack? Like what do you describe as a panic attack? Chap is saying it isn't about conflict with narcissists, it's about compliance. In conflict there is typically cooperation and compromise. Yeah. If you don't comply, you are punished. Yeah, so that is actually how I felt about gang stalking. Like, I remember that whenever I wouldn't be actively behaving in a way that would lead to gang stalking, like to make myself available to gang stalkers, I would get my computer stolen. I would get like my Nintendo Switch stolen. Like, I would get things stolen from me, or something really bad would happen whenever I would be like not using any substances. You know, whenever I would be behaving well, like it feels like when I was getting targeted, I feel that me being sober got a lot of punishment. Like it really did get a lot of punishment, and that happened when I wasn't engaging in any type of behavior that could possibly lead me to being available to gang stalkers. So that's how I felt that my gang stalking worked. You know, when I like all of my entertainment, the things that used to keep me away and safe from gang stalking, slowly but surely got taken away from me. Like that was the type of compliance that I felt that I was forced into when I was a targeted individual.
that gives us the data we need to know what this relationship is really about. Relational ruptures can be repaired. Say that a few times fast. Maybe not in narcissistic or antagonistic relationships, but in many others. And when you see the difference, you get it.
Yeah.
Repair is possible. And when you recognize that that's actually oftentimes a tilt point between antagonistic relationships and healthy relationships, it'll give you faith in what can happen when conflict is repaired and the relationship.
Hay tres cambios simples.
Yeah, so Goddess, I'm sorry that you're going through that. And so the panic attack, as long as you don't run away, you're good. Like, I honestly, like, when I was getting targeted, I swear to you, a lot of things happened where I feel like the whole intention was for me to actually like run away. And I remember that I would literally see gang stalkers being, he didn't run away, you know, but like there were times where I was supposed to have a panic attack and run away, but I never did. Not once. And that's what you have to do. I remember that gang stalkers would get mad because I never ran away. I never did. And they never knew how to make me run, you know, which was crazy. So if you're getting targeted, just please never run away from targeting. I mean, don't run away when you're meant to be harassed to make you run away. Just don't. Because running away makes you, it pulls you in more into the gang stalking narrative.
You're thinking about narcissistic relationships. Listen, perfectionism is a central theme in narcissistic relationships on both sides of the coin. And understanding this dynamic can potentially help save you a lot of time in these relationships, as well as a lot of anguish. So let's start with the perfectionism on the side of the narcissistic person. It's a classical part of the pattern. It's part of the grandiosity and a delusional belief that something or someone could actually be perfect. And most importantly, that they are or can be perfect. This perfectionism is often the hub of a wheel from which a lot of the problems of the narcissistic relationship emanate.
So Chap is saying depends. You don't want to be in a toxic environment either. So I that's absolutely true. I mean it like when you're attacked by a bunch of gang stalkers. Like I remember that every time I went to the gym, gang stalkers would make a lot of noise, and they would start doing the hand wave signals, and then they would start recording me into the gang stalking grin, and they would like pretend to run like after me, you know. And that's what I meant by never running away. If you are surrounded like in an environment when there's a lot of like gang stalkers, then just you know, move somewhere else. That's one thing that I did. Like I honestly even stopped going to the gym. Like I just stopped going to the gym because I didn't. I was half of my gang stalking harassment was always at the gym.
Again, it's part of the grandiosity, the belief that the narcissistic person even has the potential or the capability to be perfect. It's a core reason that narcissistic people spin out so often, because it is impossible for life or people or circumstances to be perfect. So that means that whenever they are not, which is pretty much every single day,
For real.
narcissistic people can easily become enraged, because if things aren't perfect, then all of those idealized defenses that the narcissistic person has to protect that fragile ego, those fall away and the shame pops out, and then the narcissistic person gets reactive and angry again.
Yeah.
The challenge is that it isn't even clear what perfect means to the narcissistic person. So it seems like an arbitrary standard that the world, their lives, and even you, and even themselves are being held to. But what is most unreasonable is not only does the narcissistic person view the possibility of perfection as very real, but they also project that expectation on other people. And that is where your problems begin.
Chap is saying, narcissists want you to live by their terms. Your reality is based on what they want. You must sacrifice and give up who you are. They want total mind. That's exactly true. That's exactly true. And you know, I feel that's in the end gang stalking. A bunch of people want to control the narrative of your life. That's exactly what I feel. That's what gang stalking is. They want you to be schizophrenic, drug addicted, homeless, with nothing, and they want you to live what they want you to live. You know what I mean? That's exactly what gang stalking is. It's a bunch of people trying to force a reality onto you. That's insane. That's literally gang stalking. A bunch of people actually forcing a reality onto your own life, a reality that you don't want. And they're doing this to you without you knowing, which is the craziest thing.
Because that is the second form of perfection that shows up in these relationships.
Most people who
It's insane.
You attempting to be perfect. The idea that you should be perfect is projected onto you, and you may actually bite and take the bait. There is the eternal anxiety and belief in these relationships that it is possible to read the narcissistic person's mind, to get everything just right, to say the right thing in the right tone of voice at the right time, and do what they want the way they want it done, that there is a way to get it just right. This is a particular issue for the children of narcissistic parents who may not understand that this expectation is completely unreasonable. The child is going to do whatever it takes to be loved or seen. So getting everything just right is part of that. And the child's attempts at perfection often leave the child anxious, obsessive, compulsive, and exhausted. Whether it is anticipating the parent's needs, keeping the room just so, getting the grades, getting the trophy, not existing unless they exist the way the parent wants. So lots of folks are already familiar with this perfectionism thing from childhood. But it also rears its head in adulthood. The trauma bond of childhood makes, in a way, almost more sense. The child has to bond and attach to the parent to survive. In adulthood, though, some people do wonder, why do people try to be perfect in these relationships? Well, this doesn't happen overnight. You don't meet a narcissist and say, I'm going to be perfect for them. It's a combination of things. First, the narcissistic person dangles a future fakey anticipatory thing. The idea, you just got it right, everything in this relationship is going to be just great. Second, it is the trauma bond and the justifications and the belief that maybe there are things that can be done to keep the peace and make the relationship work. Third, it is a way to keep the hope alive. Maybe I can get it just right and everything will be fine.
So Katie is saying, I am being tortured by director energy weapons as I speak. They hit me in the head and I have loud tinnitus. Katie, they're not director energy weapons. You have actually been attacked by gang stalkers, and the gang stalking harassment is what causes you to hear voices and feel sensations. It's not director energy weapons. So the way that you get out of that is by simply staying away from people that are pushing the gang stalking narrative onto your life. Do not read anything about director energy weapons. Don't read that stuff. That stuff is going to make you more confused, and it's going to start putting ideas that are unnecessary into your mind. Do not watch any content about director energy weapons, because that is actually going to hurt you. It's going to drive you crazy. Gang stalking is a form of harassment that causes people to have paranoid delusions. And just understand that you have to step away from the people that push on the gang stalking narrative into your life. And you have to take drastic measures, such as telling people to not speak to you, and even changing jobs and changing the places that you reside in. Chap is saying, my point in saying it can be corrupt. It can be, yeah, super.
Maybe this is just a me thing. Fourth, the days when you get it right run more smoothly. So you start to believe that there is a way to do it that makes it all work perfectly. Fifth, if you can just get it right, then you may be able to be a little more confident about what's happening in the relationship. And since you really can't.
There have been a lot of times where I have felt like I have scored, and in the end, I just end up being manipulated as hell. Like, I end up being, like, manipulated to the floor to where I'm nothing, and it's happened so many times. But I always start that relationship by feeling like I've scored really good, which is the craziest thing. And it always ends up being the total opposite, that I have lost my dignity.
Get it perfect or just right, then you get to live in the purgatory of never knowing. And sixth, in a strange way, the perfectionism is something you can control. You can keep trying to be perfect. It's something you can control, because you sure as hell can't control them. And in a chaotic situation, like a narcissistic relationship before you get it, there is that sense, if you could get some sense of control.
Very soon, I'll be closing the doors to my jewelry boutique.
Then you might even feel better, which we often think, because that's sort of like the antidote to anxiety, right? Folks in narcissistic relationships will talk about almost being obsessive, organized to within an inch of their lives, with color-coded schedules and labeled closets, or trips packed for in aspirational and perfect ways. And long after the relationship is over, or after you radically accept, this obsessive perfectionism may still be dogging you. It is a classical part of the trauma-bonded dynamic to sort of become a world-class personal assistant when you are a narcissistic person's partner. And it's unfortunate, because it is time-consuming and it is unnecessary. This dance of perfectionism is sort of a classical dynamic in the narcissistic relationship. And it results in a buildup of tension that never quite abates. The narcissistic person is never quite content because they actually believe that perfection is possible and are forever pissed off at you for when it's not. You may believe that the perfection that they project on you as a possibility is the answer to fixing this relationship.
Have you guys ever like been in a like in an incredible, well, I'm sure you guys have, but like when, how do I say this? When you are doing everything with flying colors and your partner begins being to envy you about that and then tries to sabotage you. Have you guys ever experienced that? Like your partner sabotaging you because you're doing so good?
So you actually try to be perfect and you break your spirit, you break your heart, and you waste tons of time you can't get back. The perfectionism is a defense for the narcissistic person to manage their shame and as a hedge against their insecurity. And that is not your problem. You can't fix that. So once you understand it, it can help you understand that whether you do it perfectly or not, it doesn't matter because you don't even know what the hell they're looking for. I don't think they know what they're looking for. You can't get all of that obsessive time back. And that quest for perfection can pull you away from children, from other meaningful pursuits, from friendships, from things that matter to you, and just from the joy of life. The narcissistic person is always going to be unsatisfied, and sacrificing yourself won't help. The best way to take back control in these relationships.
Katie, just know that a lot of people that are gang stalkers are always pushing the directed energy weapon narrative. FYI. It's kind of sus that you're not answering, by the way. You only came here to talk about directed energy weapons, so that's kind of sus.
Is to radically accept and to see it clearly. And ultimately, once we understand that, and we understand that the perfectionism was a false narrative that was sold to us, there hopefully is a little anger for a minute because it actually is quite aggravating. But the day you can
But
stop
conflict just so has been, let's do this one.
getting stuck.
Why do folks who drop 10
So we're gonna watch another one, and after that we're gonna go on Twitter, X, and then we're gonna check out a little bit more of gang stalking content, and we're gonna see what's up in the gang stalking sphere. Okay.
Need, want, hope, belief, thought, perception, experience, and our identity, we still can't get this right because we cannot read their minds because it's impossible. So let's set the scene. You're at a birthday party for a friend. Many people are paying attention to somebody who is talking about someone or something, I should say, that's really interesting that they recently did, and that resulted in some public acclaim for them.
Okay.
So a whole group of people really sort of leaning in, and the story is quite interesting. And the narcissist is also listening and getting increasingly uncomfortable. You can see them sort of stirring in their seat, kind of checking their phone, yawning, kind of staring away.
Okay.
They may even get up and walk around, despite everyone else sitting down and being really engaged in the story. Maybe the narcissistic person will wander back to the conversation and say something like, "Really? Are we still listening to this yawner of a story?"
Oh my
Maybe
god.
they'll say something passive-aggressive about the person who's talking or the topic. The narcissistic person may even interrupt and say, "Hey, who wants another round of drinks?" Perhaps the narcissistic person will interrupt and say, "Yeah, it's interesting you're talking about this award. I know the guy who got this award last year. Like, we did this project together." And then the narcissist may even succeed in hijacking the conversation. This is a classic red flag, but many of us, when we encounter, we write it off to other things. And this is a red flag that has a few parts to it. Not only do narcissistic people not like it when they are not the center of attention, they also don't like it when others are the center of attention. And they get visibly uncomfortable And then lots of different things can happen. So this red flag can show up in a few different ways. So let me break those down for you. First, the narcissistic person may become sullen, sulky, and sort of disconnected.
Sullen and sulky.
That most often manifests as them sort of, like I said, fooling with their phone, or sometimes with them stepping away.
I'm so sorry.
Are in a public place. They may even start a conversation with other people who are in that same place that have nothing to do with your group. Many times, this makes other people uncomfortable that the narcissist is sort of broken off. So they will try hard and work hard to try to draw the narcissist back into the conversation, because the narcissist sort of seems so glum and victimized and kind of left out. The second thing to look for in this red flag is that the narcissistic person may start making jokes or disparaging the experience of the person who is the center of attention, and particularly at the expense of the person who may be the center of attention. As an example, think of a scenario where the conversation is focused on someone, I don't know, who just got a new job or a new position at a prestigious place, like a prestigious company or agency or university. And people are congratulating them and asking them about it, saying, wow, you just got a job at such and such. That's amazing. Well, obviously, this will activate all kinds of shame and inadequacy for the narcissistic person.
Yeah.
Especially if the narcissistic person is not where they want to be in their lives.
For real.
And they may then start disparaging and joking and, well, that place where you got that job, gosh, it sounds like a place where being uptight is a way of life. Or they might say something like, oh, that's interesting, you got that teaching position. Isn't it true that those who can't teach? Or they might say something like, yikes.
That's awful.
I wouldn't want to move there.
Like an underhanded comment.
To live with no culture other than our country fair. If the person who is the center of attention,
that is such an underhanded comment,
they may try to roll with it. But the discomfort will be felt by others, people who are listening to the conversation. Others may uncomfortably laugh along. Third, a narcissistic person may try to hijack the conversation from the person at the center of attention, and the narcissistic person will try to weigh in with their expertise or experiences. I've seen this happen many times when the person who's getting the attention may be sharing a story about an experience they've had, especially when it's sort of a more unique experience, like a travel or an adventure or an accomplishment, or maybe, having an interesting kind of a conversation with someone who's known for something. That's all a little bit too much for a narcissistic person who always has to have the better story. So let's say, for example, the person who is currently getting the attention in a conversation, I don't know, they're talking about a recent work trip to a unique part of the world where they were doing some really interesting, groundbreaking, and kind of cool work. The narcissistic person, uncomfortable about not being the center of attention, may talk about that they've been there too. Yeah, I went there and I stayed there and I did that, or they've done similar kinds of work, or anything that makes their story better. And then they get the attention and control of the conversation.
So, I remember, I'm gonna tell you a story about something like this. I was living in Marlboro Drive on Kensington in San Diego. And I didn't really realize, I had an experience where I was meditating, and then, this is going to sound crazy, but I became one with the universe. So I had some type of spiritual orgasm. Call it what you call it. And so I was telling someone, my landlord, this story. And he was like, I met Dalai Lama. We were actually friends. Like, he told me that he had met Dalai Lama, like, to one-up me, just like she's saying. Can you believe that? Someone was like, I met Dalai Lama. I went to his office. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not playing. And I was just like, okay, like, I don't doubt it, But it's just weird that this person would be like, oh, well, I met Dalai Lama. It's like, it's fine, but that's weird. He got defensive, and he began pushing his own narrative, which is weird as hell. But like, I've met people like that, and then when they're trying to make them accountable, they're always like, whoa. Him and I were F buddies, and then I lost all interest. After that experience, I was like, no, we're not F buddies anymore. That was a total turn off. I was so turned off forever after that. It was not fun. I lost all type of interest was gone completely and utterly. Okay, so here we go.
A fourth way this red flag could show up is that the narcissistic person may contradict the person who is the center of attention. They may say things like, well, that isn't true. Actually, that hotel you're staying, you stayed at, that's actually been closed for a while. Or that university doesn't have that major. Or, yeah, I think you said you got that car. Well, that car wasn't made that year. And they will kind of go.
So, I remember one time where I was actually set up by one of my exes. So I'm going to tell you this story. So like this person, look, I was, notice that my teeth are typically like whiter than this. You know, do you notice that they're coming back to their normal natural color? They're white as hell. So like my teeth have been like really white. And I remember that I told my exes like, oh hey, someone asked me what I do for my teeth, and then this guy was like, you only tell them. My ex will tell me, you only tell them that you brush your teeth and that you floss every day. That's never tell that you use Crest whitening strips. And I was like, well, I guess, you know. So then that happened. So days passed by. And then we're hanging out with a group of friends, and then someone asks me, how do you keep your teeth so white? And then I tell the guy, well, I brush them and I floss. And then my ex was like, you're lying. You use the Crest white strips from Amazon for $75. His name is Dan De Leon. He literally told me to tell something only so that he would contradict me in person and try to make me appear like a liar. If someone sets you up like this, immediately cut them off. Immediately. If someone sets you up like that to make you appear like a liar in front of everyone, just know that person hates you. That person hates you and is trying to make you miserable by pretending to love you, getting close to you, and making you and ruining your reputation. So he was actually trying to make me appear like a liar. And then after that, I actually said, I told them in front of everyone, you are the one who told me to tell anyone who asks me how I keep my teeth so white to tell them that I only floss and brush. I told you that I was gonna tell them what I do with my teeth. Hey God's cat, how are you? And you're the one that told me that. And he went, I forgot. Like that. Like that should have been the biggest red flag ever. So if someone ever tries to set you up to make you appear in public, if anyone is ever trying to embarrass you in public, cut them off. Just do, because you're gonna save yourself a lot of trouble. Your partner always has to have your back, and what your partner would want is to make sure that to give the best impression of you to as many people as possible. Any partner should never try to embarrass you in front of anyone. Never. Cut them off and tell them to not speak to you again, because those people are toxic AF. Run far away from those people if they push you up against the wall like a freak. For real. So like, if someone is trying to embarrass you in public, and you are going out with them, if you're going out with someone and they contradict you, and they embarrass you in public, get rid of them immediately. For real. Trust me. It's like in the movie Gaslight. Do you guys remember the movie Gaslight that we watched, where where the husband that already wanted to make the wife crazy, he was doing things to her to make her appear like crazy, and then he was telling her that she was crazy. Same thing. If you're with someone that is constantly telling you you're crazy, you're imagining things, cut them off immediately. Those people are toxic AF.
Into petty fact checking mode. Again,
Exactly.
it's often really cringy when they do this, but unless the person who is at the center of the conversation wants to get into an argument, and maybe they will, the conversation may then end.
Best and worst
He was only with her to take her wealth. Exactly. And it could be either their wealth or to destroy you. It doesn't even have to be anything monetary. They might as well just like hate you. Hey, Kay. Hey. I'm not Dr. Ramani, but we're checking her out.
Focused on the narcissist, or people just made uncomfortable by the whole way that conversation kind of went off the rails. A fifth way this red flag shows up is that the narcissistic person may just get passive aggressive if they're not the center of attention. They may say things like, yeah, sure, I get it. It makes more sense to let a person who is new in this industry to tell us about it. Yeah, I guess things have changed. When I started in the industry 25 years ago, expertise doesn't matter with all these new ways.
That is so annoying. So Goddess Retrieval is saying harder when it's your family, boss, co-workers, or long-term. Yeah, so it's really hard when it's a long-term relationship. But you know, the thing is that if someone keeps doing that to you too often, you have to get rid of them because it's gonna get worse. Someone that's treating you really nicely first, and then all of a sudden is trying to embarrass you in front of people, that says something really bad. That means that something really bad is about to happen, because that person love bombed you. And so it is harder when it's a boss or a family member. Yeah, it really is. Or your own son. Like my brother tried to embarrass my mom in public a lot of times, and it's one of the hardest things to see.
Ways of doing things. So yeah, absolutely. Youth before expertise. And they'll say it all with this look on their face that makes you wonder if they're having gas or some other gastric experience. All of this just turns the attention on them.
Yeah.
And they also show this contempt for the person speaking, and it shifts the entire conversational experience. 6, the way this red flag can show up is the sort of classical
I just left after 30 years. Hardest thing. It is incredibly difficult to leave a relationship like that. But congratulations. I bet you're a lot happier now. And Chap says, except my family, I can still rely on them for support. Yay. That's good. That's really good to hear. My son does that. My other son wonders why I even allow that. Really?
non sequitur. The narcissistic person literally just starts talking about something unrelated to what others are talking about. They make it about something they understand. They make the conversation about something they know about or care about. So a person may be talking about their child's experience, for example.
God's cat is saying, my son does that. My other son wonders why I even allow that. I allow it because I know one son is possibly special needs in emotional areas. Oh, that's interesting. It's interesting that you can see that. You know what I mean?
In a math class. And the narcissistic person may not care. So we'll then just say, yikes, math class, who needs it? But has anyone tasted these appetizers? I've been eating at the restaurant that catered this party for years. I know the owner. And
emotional intelligence is something a narcissist never owns, says God's Cats. Yeah, they're driven primarily by envy or by hate.
These are the best, and paired with this wine. Oh, this wine, I've been to this vineyard. I know the owner. And just like that, you go from some story about some kid in a math class, and now you're talking about crostini and wine.
Oh.
Seventh way this red flag shows
sounds
up
awful annoying.
is contempt. This can show as groans and sighs and body language, like very contemptuous. Okay, unless the person talking really wants to get into it with.
So what do you have here? Thanks, Kate. You too, goddess. Life is hard. It's the narcissistic people that just make life is good, but it's understanding what these people are that makes it so difficult to navigate sometimes. You know. They also spin a wheel where you win all your triggers. Yeah, it's crazy.
With the narcissist, all of that body language may end the conversation, and many people just sort of cede the floor to the narcissist because they don't want to be on the receiving end of that contempt and may just sort of walk away from the conversation.
And the thing is that there are so many people like that. You know, it's just there's a lot of people that have like a lot of narcissistic tendencies, but way too many, way too many.
Themselves.
Packing an order for Kelly and
especially if you are getting targeted, there's like an overwhelming abundance of these people. So God's cat is saying God's cat is saying life is so fun. Wait, hang on. Life is so fun. It's mean people that suck the life out of. Exactly, yeah. Silver lining, we learn boundaries, but unfortunately can become isolated. Yeah.
This experience of being this experience of being uncomfortable when the narcissist is not the center of attention is a pattern we observe in people who are narcissistic, and also, interestingly, in another personality pattern that's called a histrionic personality pattern. I hate the name, but that's what it's called.
Histrionic.
That histrionic pattern is about having shallow emotions, needing to be the center of attention, and being uncomfortable when not the center of attention. Histrionic personality is a sort of narcissism light. Some people have called this red flag of narcissists being uncomfortable when they're not the center of attention something called conversational narcissism. The need to take conversations over and make them sources of validation and make every conversation about themselves. It's a great red flag to be aware of because, again, it shows up early. I know, and some of you may be thinking that in some cases, this need to sort of make a conversation more relevant to you could be about social anxiety. People trying to talk about things they know about just to get a toehold into the conversation.
Oh, hey, Brie, that's cool.
Social
Yay.
anxiety. You're not going to see the passive-aggressive stuff, the contempt stuff, and the contradiction stuff. You will see more of the, oh yeah, I've been there too, I've stayed there, and an attempt to nervously fit in to the conversation. So watch for this red flag.
Look at you guys.
It shows up early. It's uncomfortable to witness. And if
everyone is doing their cardio while watching Dr. Ramani. Woo. That's cool. Good for you guys. Hell yeah.
And use it as a sign to say, okay, this person, I think I'm going to probably participate in them from a distance and set up some boundaries early. Maybe just disengage from the relationship. You can avoid
the pick me vibes a narcissistic make
trauma
is fun.
bonds.
I don't know what what the hell is a pick me vibe? I don't know what that is. Should we look that up on YouTube in a little bit? Once we're done with the video. Oh my god, it's 51 minutes. Cool. Let's keep watching.
Alternation of bad and good, a good day and a bad day, idealization and devaluation. Sometime back on my podcast, the actress and writer Rebecca Humphreys, she said it the most beautifully when she said, in the narcissistic relationship she was in, it was like getting pushed off a 100-story building, and then the narcissist manages to be the one to catch you just as you are about to hit the ground. So they are not just your abuser, they also become your savior. And that is how trauma bonds get created and reinforced. It only works if we have some attachment and desire. And the desire has to be for the relationship to.
So, the pick me vibes narcissistic make is funny. Yes, pick me is the donkey in Shrek. He ruins everything from saying pick me. It's me, chap, on my other account. Hey, Gabriel, chap. Is that your picture? I had never seen chap. Oh, hey, Gabriel. There you are.
Work. And since these trauma bonds are with people we love, with family members or partners, people we care about, we get caught in this toxic dance that can keep us stuck in perpetuity. So let's take Rebecca's analogy. That one thing that can happen often in toxic relationships is that they devalue, they demean, they insult, they argue. And once they feel better, it's almost like they've let it all out, then they go in for the hug. Let me give you an example of how this can look. Let's say...
Okay, so let's do something. Let's see what does pick me mean, because I don't know.
They believe that you moved them. They say, hey, where are my keys? Seriously, where are my keys? You may respond, I don't know, I haven't seen them today. They say, yes, you have.
That's interesting, but let's hang on. So let's do something. Let's see what's pick me. I had to see your picture, chap. I was like, oh, that's your picture. Okay, let's see. You mean like a pick me girl? Let's see. What does pick me girl mean? Let's see. A pick me girl is a woman who obsessively desires male approval and validation, often at the expense of other women. Despite the word girl being used, the term pick me girl is almost always used to describe an adult woman. Oh, that's your dog Roxy. Ah, look at your dog. And you do, are you a science professor? Because you're doing like science experiments. That's cool. Oh, I want to play Stellar Blade. That game looks so good. I heard that the actual fight was really good on that game. Like the combat. Okay, so let's keep checking this out. So now, pick me girl. Typically, a pick me girl talks about how she's not like other women, especially in ways considered typically feminine. Pick me girl maybe point about how she doesn't wear makeup or wear sports fashion. Pick me girl is often discussed as the female equivalent of a simp. I'm a therapist for noodle. Ah, okay, that's cool. That's cool. Really cool. Great job. That's cool. Look at you. You're helping the world one kid at a time, or a million of kids at a time. Good for you. That's really cool. That's cool. It's a pleasure to be your acquaintance. Okay, so now
you've seen my keys. You had to have seen them. I came home and I put them here, and you always move my stuff. You are so damn disorganized. Look at this.
Oh my God.
You don't put stuff away. I am so sick of it. You have ruined my day. I need to go out in 10 minutes to go pick up that stuff, and if I don't do it, then my entire day is going to be messed up. How could you do this to me? How could you mess with my keys? Now, imagine they're sort of saying this relatively loudly, like I was trying to show, and you really, really did not touch their keys. Some of you
that's my
may
ex.
go and try to look for the keys. Others of you may be having a freeze response and just sort of stuck. Some of you may fight back. But most of you will not feel well at this point. Be more yelling. They're trying to find them. They're still yelling. Then they say, to hell with it. I am taking your car. Too bad if you need it. And they grab their coat and they put it on, and voila, their car key.
Now, if I would actually meet someone like that, I would be like, we're done. Don't talk to me anymore. For real. Like, never ever. Don't message me in any way, shape, or form. No, this is unacceptable. And I will never be treated like this ever again. And I will just, that's exactly what, and you have no idea how happy I am. So God's Cats is saying over seeking validation is pick me up. I have OCD and don't hold others to the standard by misplacing items. But misplacing items is very cruel. That same mental breakdown. Leave and lose my number. For real, like absolutely.
Or in their pocket. They feel that pocket, they hear the jingle, and they say, got him. And then I'm heading out, no apology. But as they're about to head out, and this is the part that's not okay,
they find them.
They may come in for a hug. They'll say, okay, come on, let's make up. You know, come in for the hug or the kiss. You, meanwhile, at this point, may feel once again sick, exhausted, depleted, scared, or triggered, but they want to snuggle or have a kiss, and let's make up makes no sense because they were the ones screaming at you for something you didn't do.
It's so annoying.
It's largely a one-sided
and they
argument.
never like apologize.
You don't want to call it an argument because there was no other side to it.
If you're not using AI, you are going to be replaced by someone.
It is so incredibly disrespectful. Like it just is.
Another scenario. You have an argument with them. They yell and they insult and they invalidate and they scream and they may storm off or leave. And then when you see them later, they come home in a good mood and they just want to snuggle. So this pairing of physical affection.
It's so annoying.
When you have not had the opportunity to process the harms of what they have done is not good for you. I'm not even sure if you process it, it's good for you. It feels intrusive and uncomfortable. And if you try to push them away or freeze up or don't respond, they're going to tell you that you're difficult and unforgiving.
Yeah.
But at a somatic level, to have the person who just psychologically harmed you then try to touch you in a disgusting or intimate manner, for a lack of a better way to say it, it feels kind of gross.
Yeah.
And once again,
it's so true.
You may feel as though there's no response you're allowed to have, because if you
So what are you saying? It reminds me of Mariah Carey, Shake It Off.
push back or don't respond to them, it all starts again. It's always important to remember that narcissistic folks use conflict to regulate. The yelling and the screaming and the abuse allow them to reassert their power.
That's interesting, right? Needing conflict to regulate. You know, I never really thought about conflict being part of asserting power.
And as they shatter you, they feel better. So after they feel better, and that coupled with their lack of empathy, then as far as they're concerned, everything's fine.
Yeah.
And they come in for the hug, or they just assume that you want to snuggle because the argument's done.
Ugh.
And they play upon.
I'm already so annoyed by this imaginary narcissist. I'm just like, ugh, you're so annoying. And there's not even like a particular person in my head. I'm just like, ugh. I'm already annoyed just by listening to the behavior. She says the loving ain't the same and you keep on playing games because you know I'm here to stay. I gotta shake you off. Yeah. That's alright.
On the self-blame and your self-doubt.
Push
back. Or say, like, I'm not hugging you. We're going to have to talk about this more. Or you just say it doesn't feel okay. Then you become the bad person who can't let go of stuff.
Yeah.
It feels very violating when someone swoops in for a hug or a snuggle or a
it's disgusting.
After they have
it's so
you,
disgusting,
and
dude.
there has not been a period of time for you to talk it out or work it through. Everything is on their time frame. And the more that happens, the worse it feels. Things in this kind of relationship feel like they are happening to you and not with you.
Yeah.
You are basically relegated to being an object, a sort of adult pacifier that they use to regulate. And
It's
when
true.
they're done with the yelling, they will want to regulate by being held. It's really not much different than a tantruming toddler that screams and cries and just starts yelling in the middle of a...
So God's kind of saying, so cardio is something to shake off after those narcissistic touches. You know, I feel like I need to get like my fake snuggle. Ugh, I know it's disgusting. It's so gross. I feel like, you know, that's why I like exercising, because I feel like I'm taking out all the other gang stalking from me. You know, I feel like I'm rejuvenating my mind. I'm rejuvenating my my body. I feel like I'm transforming myself into another person. And I'm transforming into myself again. That's why I feel that exercise is so important. Like, if you're a targeted individual, do your best to get in the best shape of your life, because once you get into the best shape of your life, you kind of feel like you're new. It feels super good. Oh shit! It feels like you're a new person. It really does feel like that. Like, I feel amazing every day. I see myself, and then I see like I have like my abs are beginning to pop out, and I'm like, yeah. It's happy. It makes me feel happy.
And then they need a hug from the parent afterwards. But there's a big
Alex says cardio helps the nervous system. Yeah, I mean, I think so. And notice that I've been doing a bunch of cardio for months, for hours.
Confused by this dynamic. It definitely is something that reinforces, as you can imagine, the trauma bond. And it can also reinforce the sense that somehow you're the one who's closed off, you're the one who's mean, you're the one who's cold or unforgiving if you don't just go with it. It's not true, but it's an absolute catch-22, because there's no way you can talk about it with them, to share your feelings. And then there is the stuckness, and that tees up the self-blame. The key is to understand this dynamic, so you can at least start to identify it and slowly maybe even break out of some of the self-blame cycles as well as the self-doubt, because you're not going to really be able to fix the situation. Therapy can be a place to address.
So we have here on the chat, so God's called to saying, what you saying, girl? What you saying? We never found out if it really does say yes on Google. What do you mean? What do you mean, God's cats? What yes? What says yes on Google? The pick me up girl. Is that what we're talking about? The lymphatic drainage and release of the Gabriel, exercise is really good medicine. I feel so much better keeping to an exercise routine on a daily basis. I work out every day, 4 days a week. I do weight training every day. I do cardio. Yay! That's amazing. That's really amazing.
The feelings that a dynamic like this brings up. But when someone goes from rage to affection, it's very normal to not want to hug back. In fact, almost feel disgusted at the idea of hugging back. It's not you being closed off or distant or holding a grudge.
You remember being investigated the nervous system?
It's that other person of not having no empathy or absolutely no awareness of how their behavior is affecting you. So if that dynamic happens to you, be aware it is quite.
So when this part comes out and the next part starts, we're gonna check out that, because we're gonna check out if the lymphatic drainage and the release of the nervous system.
Harmful. It reinforces the trauma bond. And when they simultaneously put themselves in this position as tyrant and tormentor and lover and hugger and carer of perpetrator and then savior, there's really no winning at that game. And it really helps you understand why this relationship is not only so difficult to remain sort of sane in, but even more difficult if you want to get out of. Okay, so let's talk about mind reading, which is such a central part of narcissistic.
Anticipation. Okay, so we're gonna stop here. This one.
The paradox.
We're gonna pause it here, and then we're gonna move on to the next one. So there's the nervous system, love exercise, interesting, targeted for individual. Let's see. A nervous system responds to exercise. Let's see. Let's check this out. Okay, so here we go. Fasting resets the nervous system as well. let's find out some information. So let's look. So let's NASM. Hang on. NASM. So NASM, it's the agency through which I'm certified as a fitness professional. It's the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and we're gonna check them out. What the academy says. So by the way, this is my intro as a personal trainer. I have 3 certifications. I'm nationally accredited as a fitness professional. I'm also accredited as a mixed martial art conditioning a specialist. Corrective exercise specialist, and a sports performance specialist. So I have specializations in all of those. I have been a fitness professor, a fitness professional for over 10 years. So FYI. So let's see. Exercise should alleviate stress. So okay, let's see. Exercise should not be stressful. I repeat, exercise should not be stressful. Exercise should alleviate stress. Before I get into the biological explanation as to why exercise ought to alleviate stress, let's briefly discuss how different types of exercise alleviate different types of stress. Let's see. So we're talking about psychological stress, and let's see. So let's check this out. Usually, psychological stress is manifest in the form of anxiety and or erratic behavior. An individual feels overwhelmed and often trapped in the decision-making process. Psychological stress prevents us from thinking and acting in a sense of clarity, as well as a lack of motivation to attend whatever we have at time. Okay, look, let me show you something. So this book is called Overachievement, and it is by Dr. John Elliott, which is a high performance professor at the Cornell University. I forgot which university. Hang on. He's so hot. Look, he's like my favorite. He's like one of my favorite people in the world, and the wording is so wordy. I know, it's like my water is so wet. Okay, so look, so this guy, Dr. John Elliott says the following. I'm gonna read it to you. Okay, so Dr. John Elliott, when he talks about stress, he covers it. But I'm gonna read this to you, watch, because he says that stress depends on your perception of the stress. So if you perceive that a stressful situation is gonna affect you negatively, you're gonna lose performance. But if you have a positive impression of the stress, like I read this before I was getting gang stalked, and I always knew it. I always said, gang stalking is gonna make me stronger. One way or another, I'm gonna get something super valuable out of this, because this amount of stress is something beyond I could have ever thought possible. And guess what? It led me to have this channel, and you know, it led us to find out. Okay, well, there's energy weapons are because are a myth that's false, a false narrative that we have all been lied to. He is a 10. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, he's amazing. And so look. So he talks here. Butterflies are a good thing. Hard work is not the answer. Let's see. Socrates never had a slump. The art of high performance. Valor, target shooting. Hang on. One pitch at a time. Wisdom of yogi. Okay, so let's look. Let's watch a short video on this. Let me show you something about Dr. John Elliott. Look. Hang on. You guys should so watch. This is a summary.
You're listening to the Philosopher's Note on overachievement. More wisdom in less time.
So it's 22 minutes.
Brian, welcome to the Philosopher's Notes on Overachievement, the new model for exceptional performance.
Listen.
By John Elliott, PhD. We'll start with a quote from Dr. John Elliott. He says, overachievement is aimed at people who want to maximize their potential.
Listen.
And to do that, I insist you throw caution at the wind. Ignore the pleas of parents, coaches, spouses, and bosses to be realistic. Realistic people do not accomplish extraordinary things because the odds of success stymie them. The best performers ignore the odds. I will show that instead of limiting themselves to what's probable, the best will pursue the heart-pounding, exciting, really big, difference-making dreams, so long as catching them might be
possible.
End quote. You can feel the intensity from Dr. Elliott just in that quote.
Yeah.
And if you're into achieving greatness and love to see the hero in action, whether it's Tiger Woods coming back for the playoff win or a great rock star performing live, and you have visions of yourself being in that category, you'll love this book. John Elliott, relative of T.S. Eliot in a long line of Harvard presidents, is brilliant. He's one of the world's leading authorities on peak performers and isn't afraid to challenge the status quo of high performance. He's also a great writer, and this book is an incredibly fun, inspiring read, with John Elliott's articulate and brilliantly blunt explanations of what makes the great performers perform greatly. You'll learn to kick the deep breathing relaxation habits during pressure situations, and instead,
I'm still looking for the
keep
pressure.
the stress like a power bar. You'll learn how to turn your cerebral cortex off like a squirrel scurrying across a high wire. I mean, come on, who doesn't want to know how to do that? And a bunch of other tricks of the...
Okay, so I found it. So I'm gonna read this to you, okay? Okay, so I'm just gonna give you a summary. So so Dr. John Elliott tells you about a story where he went to see why a particular program wasn't performing. So a program, how do you say it? As long as you feel that you have that, as long as you know a purpose and you feel that going through the stress is dealing with the stress is gonna help you reach that purpose, you're gonna ignore the stress and you're gonna keep your mind focused on the goal. And by that I mean, so this particular program was, a lot of people were dying, and the doctors were doing surgeries, but they were making people die. So they went and checked, and they noticed that all the patients had numbers. They weren't even called by names. Target individuals to become top performers by proxy. Yeah, like so what happened is that these people became a number. They just became a slate to do the operation on, and get paid. It was these people only represented money. They were treated like numbers. So what happened is that there was this woman who was 90, right? And then Dr. John Elliott told the doctor, ask this woman that needs a heart surgery why she needs a heart surgery. Like, what is it that she's already almost 80 years old? Why does she need to keep on going? Ask her until you find her purpose. So then the doctor went, right? And then he went to the lady and asked her, why do you need the surgery? And then the woman is like, I'm dying. I need a surgery because I don't want to die. And then the doctor said, well, no. I know that, but like, you're already almost 80. You have had a very fulfilling life. Why is it that you feel the need to keep on going if you feel like you have already lived enough? And she said, oh, my unfinished business. And he said, yeah. So then the woman said, oh yeah, well, I have a granddaughter that doesn't know how to swim, and I was a competitive swimmer. So I am not going to leave this earth before I show this girl how to swim. So then the doctor kind of got attached to her, because now it wasn't only about doing the surgery right, it was about the goals of the woman and her unfinished business, and it was how about the impact of his work would affect the girl. His impact would affect the girl's ability to swim in the future. So then the doctor finished the surgery in record time, and the woman got it was a success, and they adapted that change onto the program, and the numbers began changing. So the stress was the same, the surgery was the same. They had accidentally killed a lot of people. Their lack of importance on the job was still there. And the stress was the same. Wouldn't that be the most stressful thing that you have possibly ever been? If you have a person cut open under anesthesia and you're cutting up their insides, so she showed she was limitless in all aspects. The purpose at 89 is the same day one. The purpose at 89 is the same as day. So yeah, exactly, God's cat. So for me, I always knew that I had a purpose. I didn't know what it was, so I rolled with other punches of gang stalking. That's why I tell all targets, work towards something, have a goal, have a short career, focus on that. Because when you focus on that, all the other stress, regardless of how much is being imposed on you, it's gonna affect you, because you're using this stress to help you focus. You are finding meaning in the stress. It's like one of the biggest meanings that I found in my gang stalking operation was I had to tell the world what gang stalking is about. I have to tell them that directed energy weapons are not real. I have to tell them that it is the gang stalking harassment itself. Reading this is, even though I was going through the gang stalking harassment, this book is what actually helped me survive it. If it wasn't for that book, I would probably be crazy. I would probably be dead. I don't know, but you have to have a purpose, and once you have a purpose, as long as you do not lose sight of that purpose, you are going to be able to deal with absolutely everything that is thrown at you by anyone ever. I promise you that. That is what you have to understand, is that you have to focus on your mission. Don't focus on the gang stalking. You have to have a mission. My mission had to do with gang stalking. It had to do with understanding gang stalking. I didn't choose it. That mission came to me. And that's just how I feel about it. And that mission, the fact that it was like, no, I have to make sure that everyone knows what gang stalking is exactly what allowed me to keep my sanity. The fact that I felt obligated as an obligation, that I had to do something about it. And and if any of you that are targeted individuals, you have to have a mission too. The mission is your mission that is going to be imposed on you by, I don't know what, God, or I don't know, whatever. If you're saying you're a chosen one, then do something about it. Otherwise, you want to make sure to be as successful as possible so that these people get F to the A. Your goal is to be as successful as possible until the last of your days, so that these people do not get any more narcissistic supply that they already have. Okay? And it is not me saying it. That is simply, you just have to understand, you have to get a mission and lock in. Boom, and just go for it. And that's it. Okay, so we're going to continue with the video, okay? You ready, huh?
Of narcissistic relationships is that the person who is experiencing the narcissistic behavior often blames themselves for being selfish or narcissistic. And the narcissistic person largely whines and complains about how they are being mistreated. So let's talk about a fundamental way that this shows up, and one of the impossible corners of the narcissistic relationship.
Lily, I don't let them know I know.
Here is the thing that just almost never happens in a narcissistic relationship.
So that Nina says, don't, Lily, I don't let them, Lily, I don't let them know I know. You know, it's just, who cares about what they think? You just do you as hard as possible. That's it. That's what you have to focus on. That's how you win. You focus on yourself as hard as possible for as long as possible. And yeah, chosen ones better show what they're chosen. Otherwise, they're full of shizzle. Why are you different? If you're different, then show it. Demonstrate it. Otherwise, it's all talk.
As a separate human being. You simply aren't. Your feelings, experiences, perceptions, beliefs, needs, physical condition, concerns as a separate human being are simply not registered. And that is a weird sort of Twilight Zone thing to get your head around. You are standing in front of someone, of another human being, standing in front of them, crying, or in pain, or sad, or having gone through something. And it is a crapshoot whether or not it will be noticed, or empathized with, or even observed.
Gabriel is saying, I have 3 writing projects I'm working on in my free time. I am focused on my career and my health. And that's perfect. That's exactly what you should be doing for as long as possible. You have to be doing that for as long as possible, making sure that nothing distracts you from that. You have to make sure to keep winning. You win hard and win good until gang stalkers and haters lose hope.
And registered, then it's yet another crapshoot if it will be regarded with kindness or assistance, or you will be dismissed as being ridiculous or an inconvenience. And what is messed up is this can vary. So there may be a day that you are crying, and someday the narcissistic person may offer some soothing words or a tissue, or tell you that they understand why you are crying. And then the next time you're crying, they may roll their eyes and tell you that you're being ridiculous and too sensitive and have no right to feel that way. That is every narcissistic relationship. And because you love or care about or trust,
because it's hot and cold,
believe you have to believe in this person, for example, it's a family member, you internalize all of these inconsistent ways they show up, and you tell yourself that you are reading the situation wrong. The thing that everyone craves in a narcissistic relationship and never gets, again, like I said, is simply to be seen as a separate human being. Whether that narcissistic person was your parent in childhood and adolescence, or partner, a sibling, parent in adulthood, and especially in those key kinds of relationships we have. We just want to be seen. Maybe not even necessarily told we are right, or great, or even good, but just to be accurately experienced. The word for that...
This lawyer tried to help you, but he was sent out of the country.
And every driver that I'm getting, ooh, imagine Leah being up. I love that for you. I love that for you.
Is attunement, and it is a natural human need. We are built for it. Human babies need to see their caregiver's face staring at them a lot.
Yeah.
In fact, the standard feeding position for an infant, if you're holding them right, is the ideal orientation.
So Gabriel is saying, I'm staying with family. If I live alone, the gang stalking starts ramping up and gets severe. That's exactly right. I have to stay with my mom because otherwise the gang stalking is gonna get crazy. I remember that one time when I was saying, oh, I'm gonna visit my mom. I remember gang stalkers saying, oh, you're visiting your mom. Gang stalkers would actually get concerned whenever I would come and see my mom. It's weird. You have to be with one person, because otherwise, if there's another person watching what's happening to you, you're gonna have testimony. They want to make sure that there's no testimony. Like it's and don't let anyone tell you why you're staying with family. Like the only person that are gonna try to shame you for that is a gang stalker. So you don't even worry about it. It's insane. It's so insane. Okay, so here we go.
Of the caregiver's face,
but good for you.
The baby's face. They need that to foster attachment and to be seen, and it goes from there. When we are adequately and consistently attuned to by someone else, over time we learn to trust ourselves. We build an emotion.
Your parents won't allow gang stalkers to harm you physically because they will.
Freedom to develop an identity. And in the best version,
if they cannot say it was, yeah.
We learn that maybe everything we do isn't right, because nobody's perfect, but that we are a human being worthy of being seen and experienced and loved. And that we don't need to become something else other than ourselves for that to happen. Well, that is never going to happen in a narcissistic relationship, because again, we are objects to them that exist to do stuff for them. I'm not going to belabor that point. I've already said it 1,000 times.
Oh.
And heaven knows we can spend literal lifetimes wanting to be seen, right up to the deathbed hope that the narcissistic person will finally get it, and it isn't going to happen. But we get this hope we have of attunement, confused with something that the narcissist.
God's Cat says, gang stalkers know how to shot you, and that's so weird. And that's so weird that they want you seeing Jesus. She said it's weird, yeah. They really want to finish you. So, someone actually went on the live chat a while ago and told me, die already. Why don't you die already? Someone told me that. Can you believe that? Someone actually went on the chat and was like, why don't you die already? It's insane. It's so insane what these people do and say. It's crazy.
Narcissistic person expects. And then we judge ourselves, wondering if maybe we are behaving as insanely and inconsiderately as them. You may believe that expecting to be attuned to.
Oh yeah, I got shot once. But I was a kid. It was way before gang stalking.
Attunement, folks, is sort of a baseline, fundamental human expectation. And interestingly, one of the pieces of human history that will go down is the day that these stupid devices came into our lives. And not just phones and tablets, but even the computer as a place where we manage everything from schedules to information, all of it. That was the moment when all those daily moments of attunement, a person sitting and looking at us during a simple interaction during the day disappeared. So we've lost a lot of attunement in the last 20 years. Attunement goes from a basic human experience to what can sometimes feel like a luxury, especially for people who have multiple narcissistic relationships in their lives. And all of this is in contrast to what the narcissistic person expects, who doesn't just want attunement. Because you may be sitting here thinking, well, attunement is a very me, want and desire. And you may wonder, maybe it's narcissistic to expect someone to be attuned to you. But actually, what a narcissistic person wants is not limited to attunement. They want something more. Yes, they expect the attunement. They do.
The devices, I put them down. The devices are
everything to be based on them, to be about them. And if it's not about them, they will click out. But they want something more. And what they want is for you to read their mind.
Pretty
literally
much.
anticipate what they want. It's not just attunement, which is when someone comes to us, we do lift our head long enough to hear them and see them and listen to them and recognize them as someone with a separate reality and experience from ours. And that's not okay. Nope. The narcissistic person isn't going to do that. But they actually want you to read their minds, literally.
Huh.
To anticipate what they want, when they want, before they even say it. To anticipate that they're in a good mood. To anticipate when they want to be left alone. To anticipate when they want to have a chat. To anticipate when they didn't want fish for dinner. That you assumed that you knew that they wanted the delivery to be placed in the kitchen. To have made the appointment at the time they wanted, that they didn't share with you, by the way. They expect you to read their minds. And anything less doesn't work. And the messed up part is that we actually try to do it. When the gaslighting is full tilt in these relationships, and we are all the way in the narcissistic system, and this really happens a lot with children who have narcissistic parents, we actually believe that we can do this, that we can anticipate their every need, say the right thing, keep the house organized the right way, bring the right gift, cook the right meal, have the right interests, do the right hobbies, avoid saying the wrong thing, have the right feeling, not express the wrong feeling. You get the idea. Every one of us who has ever had at least one narcissistic relationship in our lives, we tried this. And frankly, if we fully gave up on ourselves, and we do give up on ourselves in these relationships and deny our every need, want, hope, belief, thought, perception, experience, and our identity, we still can't get this right. Because we cannot read their minds because it's impossible.
Do you guys hear that?
Baby humans.
No one can read your mind, okay? Not even gang stalkers.
Maybe even a little into their second year. That's why babies cry. But the other reason,
regardless of what you think,
they don't have
gang stalkers cannot read your mind, okay?
It has been argued that the baby doesn't understand that there's a difference between them and that nice person who shows up and feeds and holds them. They don't understand that differentiated, like, I'm different than this. So when that nice person isn't doing exactly what they want at the moment they need it, they yell. And over time,
I've seen that. Oh my God, I've seen that in person.
If we get it right enough with them and their little brains develop, they start to realize, oh, it doesn't work this way. And that milk person is separate from me and isn't always available. So I'm going to have to figure some of this out for myself and use my words. And then over time, one day we tie our shoes and we do use our words and we make our beds. The narcissistic person's psyche kind of gets stuck at that infantile phase. Read my mind! And if we don't, they wail and scream because we didn't. And until we do, it's not okay. And all of this is much.
I'm glad no one yells at me. I hate that. Oh my God, same.
You aren't asking for the narcissistic people in your life to read your mind. You're hoping for basic attunement. And there's a massive difference. Attunement is natural and human and expectable. If you get used to living without it for long enough, you may start to believe that attunement is rare. And it starts to take a toll on you when you don't get it. You may also start to believe there's something wrong with you. So that's why you don't get attuned to and it's your fault. Or that you're narcissistic for expecting people to be attuned to you. No.
That's crazy.
It's sort of fundamental. It's the core of healthy parenting. And frankly, it's the core of any close, intimate, connected relationship. Mind reading, on the other hand, that's subjugation.
Huh.
It's to be expected or even required to be a mind reader. A person in such a relationship is locked into servitude.
Yeah.
Existing for another person and more attuned and aware into understanding that other person than they are for themselves.
Yeah.
And that
it makes you worry about everything.
Being there completely for the other person and not at all for the self.
Yeah.
That is the core dynamic of the narcissistic relationship.
That's exactly what gang stalking does to you, where people are like, I know they're thinking, they're saying this about me, and they didn't do that. Like you just feel like you feel like you want to know what they're thinking and what they're trying to do, and you're obsessed with what are they. I don't know. It's weird, but it's supposed to be called attunement.
It's the only way it can work. And sadly, for example, many a narcissistic boss expects this of their staff and employees. Narcissistic parents expect this of their children. Things like, you should know that daddy had a bad day.
This feels like relationship counseling. It kind of is. I mean, but I mean,
of their spouses.
Out of the gang stalking context, the thing is that the thing about gang stalking, like, it's like if you are targeted, you are going to be in relationships with people that you didn't know that were harassing you, or that were gang stalkers, or that are abusing you in one way or another. If you are being targeted, a lot of people around you are gonna make you mess up, are gonna try to make you mess up, and you have to understand that. So you have to pretty much understand. You have to learn how to see it. That's why this is so important, because one way or another, either being an acquaintance or actually being someone who actually means something to you, you have to learn how to see any type of intent and manipulation, because it can be you're going to be surrounded by a bunch of people that are going to try to demoralize you, that are going to try to abuse you in one way or another, that are going to be upset at you for no reason. And you have to learn how to keep respect to yourself and keep boundaries. Like when someone says, oh, let's take a nap, and they're not letting you sleep, or when you have roommates that tell you that you're too loud, to try to make you be quiet, and then they're out there with a freaking television super loud. You have to understand that you have to put a step on the floor and stand up for yourself, because gang stalking people are going to try to push you into a corner, and they're going to try to demoralize you and mess with you. So you actually have to know what abuse looks like. You have to be able to, more than anything, have the power and strength to tell them, you know what, don't speak to me, because you don't even, and you don't owe them any explanation. So Kate Rand says, it's hard to see it, but once you do, think of so many different episodes when it happened, but you don't. Yeah, exactly. So that's why it's like knowing about these types of things, especially if you're getting gang stalked, is super important. And you have to trust your gut. You have to understand when something isn't right, when something doesn't feel right. Your first instinct has to be, don't talk to me. For real. Like, if someone isn't right and you are getting gang stalked and you're on a one-on-one encounter with anyone, you have to be like, don't talk to me, because there's something not right, and you have to get out of there. You have to listen to your intuition, especially if you're getting gang stalked, regardless of who it is. Like, you have to understand that.
And partners, narcissistic family members expect this of their other family members. Narcissistic friends expect this of their friends, and convince us that it's actually possible to read their minds.
Yeah.
And that if we don't do it, then maybe we don't love them. Maybe we don't care. Maybe we aren't committed. Maybe we're selfish. Narcissistic cult leaders, and of course, is there any other kind, but narcissists.
Hey, Balance!
Do this to their audiences.
What up, MaxiPad? I'm just kidding.
To the cause. Wanting attunement is healthy and normal. Wanting someone to read your mind is not. And when you ask for or hope for attunement, you aren't asking for mind reading. Don't confuse the unrealistic and dehumanizing demands of the narcissistic relationship with your innate drive for a healthy connection with another human being. Stay in enough narcissistic relationships where if you get raised by a narcissistic parent, and then you will believe that wants and needs that you may have, such as attunement on your side, are selfish, and yet their want for mind reading is somehow possible. Double standards and hypocrisy.
Double standards
are the glue of narcissistic relationships. Everyone deserves to be seen as a separate human being. Everyone. Babies, within a year or two, grow out of the primitive idea that mind reading is a thing. But unfortunately,
that's funny.
Narcissistic folks don't. Let's talk about the tests of narcissistic loyalty.
Okay, so do you guys want to watch this, or so we're gonna pause this one here, and then we're gonna check out a little bit more of. We're gonna follow this to this one later. Let's check out a little bit of gang stalking content, yeah. So then, when you read the minds, I have had that happen. Or they. Have you ever seen it when you actually read a narc's mind and they show a flash of anger on their face? Have you guys experienced that? Okay, so we're gonna check out a little bit of gang stalking content now that we're here. Let's see. So listen to this. Who says this number 5 post-star system can be put together in a different way? Blind loyalty. Blind loyalty is what they want. That regardless of what they do to you, they want you to be loyal to them. And yeah, so who says this 5-star post-star can be put together in a different way to actually hit targeted individuals within their homes from at a distance with the system you don't doubt that is a probably now against Americans by your own government. So notice that like a bunch of people are literally just talking about like the government having directed energy weapons. Look. Cutting-edge AI-powered electromagnetic warfare system that swiftly detects, neutralizes threats, ensuring rapid response and enhanced security. Okay, this is interesting. What? Even if it was, if you're a target individual, understand that it has nothing to do with you. Which is crazy to even imagine giving it. They cycle is love bombing, devaluation, discard, hoover, wipe. I know. It's crazy. I get hoovered so much, dude. It's insane. Okay, what's another project? Okay, let's see more schizo.
It started in the 1990s.
Schizo YouTube.
There was a plan to stage a massive sky event using holograms, sound tech, and psychological manipulation. The goal, allegedly, to shift public beliefs and create global unity. This theory outlines 4 stages. 1. Disrupt historical beliefs. Throws your project symbols into the sky. 3. Broadcast voices directly to the mind. 4. Use the illusion to create order through global coordination. No official documents confirm it, but the idea spread like wildfire, especially after its author disappeared from public view. Whether it was real or a warning, it caught the internet's attention. Today, tech like sky projections, focused sound, and AI-based simulations are real. So is it possible this was a theory about future tech, not a threat? What do you think? Future...
Gang stalking is like you are being devalued by a lot of people at the same time. That's what gang stalking feels to the target. Everyone around you is trying to devalue you. You know what I mean? Look at this Lola. Survivor MK Ultra monitoring voice to skull technology. No touch torture neural weapons. Like, there are so many people claiming that they are being attacked with directed energy weapons. And there are thousands guys of people trying to make you believe that directed energy weapons are real. So understand, guys, that directed energy weapons are not being used on targets. They're not. This is directed energy weapon. My gang stalkers are so broke, they mob is all AF. Yeah, so, you know, gang stalkers want you to believe, they're going to imply and do and say things. We have technology you cannot even imagine. They're going to be doing that. But the thing is that, like, the narrative of directed energy weapons and gang stalking online plays along with the gang stalkers. Like, all of those people that have harassed you probably have accounts that say, oh yeah, directed energy weapons are real, directed energy weapons are real. And they want you to believe that they are a possibility. Remember that everything in gang stalking is plausible deniability. And as long as you believe that plausible deniability are directed energy weapons, you can possibly fall for it. So Chap says, my gang stalkers were very unpredictable and inconsistent in their treatment, which was very disorienting. Balance Counter says, they drive an ugly tiny car, no way they have this device. Yeah, so look, honestly, if you're getting targeted, the worst thing you can do is to read material about the directed energy weapons, because the gang stalking harassment itself is actually going to make you hear voices, and it's going to make you feel things on your body. You're literally get your perception of reality distorted. And what happens is that once that's happening to you, if you actually believe if you have the narrative put there, and your mind starts doing weird things, you're gonna be like, oh my god, the directed energy weapons are real because I'm feeling these weird things. But just know that it's the mind. It's the mind, and you are meant to believe that you are being attacked with directed energy weapons or hacked. Balance Calendar says the material takes you into insanity. Yes, that's exactly right. All of the gang stalking narrative about directed energy weapons is meant to give you schizophrenia. It's meant to drive you crazy. So please understand that people are going to do things to you to try to make you paranoid, to try to make you feel like someone is recording you, that someone is like, you are going to have those suspicions. What you have to do is you have to stay away from anyone that isn't pushing those suspicions onto you, okay? Even depression can induce a psychosis. Probably, you know, I remember that. I guess so, yeah. I mean, I have never been depressed like that. But, you know, honestly, I don't think I have ever, like, been depressed. Even when I was gang stalked, because I was always, like, in a fight or flight. You know, I always feel like I need to beat this. There's effers are not gonna beat me. But I was always in a I never give up, and I might have been angry, but I have never been depressed. But I did have a psychosis, or many. It was insane. Anyway, so guys, this is it for today's live stream. Tomorrow we are working out milkers. Okay, so I'm actually gonna try to work out every day. But the workouts are gonna be like 2.5 hours. They're gonna be half of the workouts that we're currently doing, and I'm gonna do one body part per day. So it's gonna be like one body part per day, 5 times a week, and we're gonna be doing conditioning all of those days. Okay, so the workouts are gonna be short, but we're gonna be working out like 4 to 5 times a week. Okay, so Balance Calendar says, have a good night, milkers. Hey, good night, Maxi Pat. No, I'm just kidding. Good night, guys. God's Cats, thank you for stopping by. Guys, if you guys would like to support the channel in any other way, just know the memberships are for the channel are open. They're $5.99. You get cool emojis that are little chihuahuas like this one, and then you get milk jugs on the chat. You get fat rolls, and we're gonna see what else we can come up with that is fun and playful. Okay, but likes, comments, and subscribes are greatly appreciated. So I appreciate everything that you guys do for me. Just know that. Right now, as soon as we're done, I'm about to upload a video. So FYI, I'm about to upload a video about the episode of the belief that directed energy weapons were real. I'm gonna upload it in like 5 minutes, in like 1 hour probably. Okay, so have a good night, guys. I love you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. Please take care, and remember, direct energy weapons are not used in direct energy weapons are not used in gang stalking, regardless of what the internet tells you. Do not ever believe that. Never believe that narrative, and understand that life is good. And please put yourself first, and know that if you're getting targeted, people are going to try to devalue you. Just know that, and do not allow these people to devalue you. If someone tries, tell them to go F themselves as hard as possible, okay? Dr. Ramani and I say bye, so good night.